Well, it's me. Here I am. This is our living room, by the way. Um, kind of nice. It's not that big of a house, but I really enjoy it. Anyway, the reason I'm here, you asked me to go ahead and narrate the new book, 99% True. And after a great deal of thought, I've decided, yep, that's it. And I started on it. And you know what? It's really hard. I have the greatest admiration for those guys, those actors who can do such a great job. I don't wear a hat, but if I did, hats off. Anyway, I thought I would share with you my first crack at chapter one. This is just a small part of chapter one. It's called The Great Egg Theft. And it's a true story out of my misbegotten youth. And I won't, well, you go watch. But anyway, it's me narrating it, and I later on did another version of it. But I thought you'd enjoy seeing what I'm doing to narrate this book, and you might enjoy the story of the great egg theft. Old man Niedermeyer. All right, here you go. And by the way, do me a favor. I'm trying to get as many people on my list to send out when the book is done. So if you wouldn't mind, go to paulmcgowan.com, PaulMcGowan.com, and sign up. Give me your email address, and then I'm not going to spam you. I don't do that. It's not part of my ethos. I really don't. So just give me your email address, and I will then let you know when the Audible version, when the printed version is done and ready. Okay, so here from chapter one, The Great Egg Theft. Enjoy.
Late afternoon, and most evenings, would find David forced to practice piano while the other four of us played tag football on the asphalt circle at the end of our street, Belmont Place. It was our four against the rival gang from Sandalwood Court, or sometimes the toughs from Banyan Place. I wasn't as good at catching the football as Tony, so I wound up quarterbacking while Mikey and Dennis defended the line. And at times, we had a small audience. My two sisters on our home's tiny oval of dichondra, the reclusive spinster across the street peeking through her curtains, Mikey's mom inspecting us through their upstairs window, and, without fail, old man Niedermeyer. His home was at the eastern curve of the cul-de-sac, and from his porch he could see all the way down Belmont Place to Whittier Drive. He was a retired Orange County sheriff and, before that, a Marine. We knew this because the rear window of his blue and white 1958 Oldsmobile had been taken over by a menacing skull with rifles for crossed bones and a USMC slogan emblazoned across the top, "Death before dishonor," on the bottom, followed by Semper Fi. Niedermeyer was probably a fit man at one time, but he'd long ago fallen into disrepair. His enormous pear-shaped midsection folded over his belt and hung down like a drape. He was large enough to have difficulty walking, forced to swing each leg out before planting his foot down with a thud. But he could move with surprising agility when the situation called for it. If one of our footballs landed on his cactus ring property, the unlucky retriever had to be quick or risk that mountain of a man's iron grip and punishment. A phone call to his parents, or Niedermeyer's buddies at the sheriff department. Worse was when the ball landed close to him. If he got it first, that was the end of the game. I don't know how many balls he collected over the years, but he certainly had an easy dozen. Niedermeyer was the target of a great deal of mischief and retribution from our little gangs. Toilet paper rolls decorating his prized trees, burning paper bags of dog shit on his porch, and always the easy favorite, the doorbell ring and a quick dash for safety. I'd never bothered much with him, personally. He'd never caught me in his yard, and I'd always managed to escape before the sheriff's arrival. But it wasn't like that for Mikey. Mikey had been marched over to his home by the old man more than a few times, and then beaten within an inch of his life by his father. Mikey always talked of revenge, but never did anything about it until one late summer's evening, Tony told him to put up or shut up. I could see Mikey biting his lower lip, holding back tears at the challenge. You gonna start crying? Tony tormented. I felt sorry for him. Mikey stuttered when he got anxious, and that made it all the worse. The other boys would copy his halting speech until Mikey fled for home. I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want that to happen again. Egging someone's house was standard practice, especially on Halloween. Each kid would pocket a few eggs from the fridge, and together we'd launch a fusillade attack on windows and the front door. But this would be different. I could see Mikey's spirits rise at the thought of laying waste to old man Niedermeyer's house, so I wanted to make this the crime of the summer, perhaps the century, a feat that would become neighborhood legend. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Instead of pilfering a few eggs from our parents, I told the bunch we'd raid Wright's Egg Ranch and fill out a shopping bag full. It was a brilliant plan, one that was audacious enough to extract revenge for Mikey and fame for me. Wright's Egg Ranch was south of us on La Palma Avenue. It was a big place, with row upon row of caged chickens. Most people would visit Wright's through the small retail store in front, but enterprising young thugs like us could hop a fence and get what we wanted. It was dark and moonless at 9 p.m., and just a little cold as it gets near the 1st of September. The crickets' chorus had slowed due to the chill, but still, their million-voice symphony accompanied the stealthy march of we four rogues. I was the first over the fence, so the others hid as I surveyed the scene. "Come on over," I whispered. We stalked the darkened row of cages as quietly as we could, but those chickens seemed easily awakened. Their wings flapped and their beaks broadcast scolding squawks as we lifted egg after egg, filling our Alpha Beta shopping bag full. By the time we'd gotten to the far end of the row, closest to the Wright's home, our eyes had adjusted so we could see by the swath of bright stars clustered in the Milky Way. Mikey tapped me on the shoulder. "Let's go. We have enough." I could tell he was scared. I didn't see Tony, but Dennis nodded too. None of us had ever tried anything this daring. "Shh," I cautioned, and motioned with the crook of my finger for the troop to make our exit. Suddenly, the entire chicken yard burst into noise, cackling and feathers flying everywhere. I spun around to see that Tony had thrown one of the eggs at a chicken and was preparing a full barrage. I grabbed his arm and pulled him close. "Are you nuts?" Tony broke away and started running back towards the fence, peppering chickens with their eggs, and soon the whole place sounded like an angry mob. The idiot. "Who the hell's out there?" bellowed a voice just behind us. It was Mr. Wright. The sudden lights blinded us as we ran for our lives. "Stop, you little thieves!" I stumbled into Mikey, who had been running as fast as he could with that bag of eggs. He fell, and his face plowed straight into the yolks of 100 eggs. I grabbed him by the shirt collar, and we sprinted to the fence amidst the cackles and cries of hundreds of agitated chickens, just as Mr. Wright was about to play his trump card. "Stop, or I'll shoot," he ordered. Shoot? A gun? Jesus! I considered for the smallest instant following his orders and raising my hands in surrender, but that fence was now within sight. The hell we'd pay getting caught stealing eggs was just too much, and it was every man for himself. Tony and Dennis had already hurdled the fence, so Mikey and I vaulted ourselves over as high as we could before tumbling over that barrier head first. I felt the hot searing pain in my legs and butt before I heard the retort of the shotgun. He had shot us, just as promised. Another boom echoed just as we landed on the other side. I could hear Mr. Wright running towards us. Soon we'd be back in shotgun range. My legs and butt felt on fire, but I could still run. Was I dying? Bleeding to death? It didn't seem to matter right then. All I could think of was getting away. I felt the back of my jeans, once safely away from the egg ranch, sticky and matted with blood. I imagined a gaping flesh wound with spurts of pumping blood like I'd seen in the movies. Tony took a look at my backside after I pulled my pants down. "Rock salt," he declared, and then he and Dennis hightailed it back home. We'd each told our parents we were spending the night at the others, but now we'd need a new story. Dennis and Tony had gotten off without a scratch, but Mikey and I were in rough shape. His face and his clothing were covered in yellow goo, and the back of his fresh-pressed jeans was peppered with holes and caked in blood. I felt awful, but didn't know what to do, and figured for his safety, he should just go home and get help. I told him my plan: throw my clothes in the trash, use the garden hose to wash out the salt still burning in my legs and butt, and hope not to get caught. Mikey couldn't manage that, and he fessed up to his father. We didn't see him back in the football game until next summer. My friends and I struggled with growing up, as I suppose all kids do. We did our best to not get caught for our mischief and worked hard at elevating our social status at school, but that wasn't all we struggled with. Puberty made me one horny kid, an unfortunate fact when you're an insecure middle school dork trying to move unnoticed into high school. I watched with envy.